Published 12:33 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 14th of April 2018. Updated 14:51 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 14th of April 2018. The U.S. has ridiculed Russia's claim that Syrian fighters shot down 71 of the 105 missiles fired in the Damascus airstrikes and described the falsehood as the start of a disinformation campaign. Since the U.S., UK and France pummeled 3 targets on Friday night, Russian troll activity has surged by 2,000%, according to the Pentagon. It is a sign of Moscow's attempt to try to cover up how successful the coordinated attack was and support the Assad regime, before the U.S. confirmed on Saturday that none of its missiles were compromised and none of the aircraft interfered with. Russian officials made the claim that only 30 landed on their targets. Russia claimed that Syrian fighters were able to bring down 71 of the 100 missiles fired at 3 targets in Damascus, a claim which was rebuffed and ridiculed on Saturday. Above, the sky lights up with missile fire. Syria did fire 40 missiles after the U.S.-led attack, but they did not hit any aircraft and the 105 missiles had already been fired. Pentagon spokesperson Dana White left on Saturday, said the claim by Russian call General Sergei Rudskoy was disinformation and that trolls had spiked in activity trying to cover up how successful the attack was. Russia's call General Sergei Rudskoy said the hail of missiles did little damage, claiming Syrian fighters, using the 30-year-old missile defense systems Russia had given them, were able to bring them down. He credited the high effectiveness of the weaponry in Syria and the excellent training of Syrian servicemen prepared by our specialists. Dana White, the chief Pentagon spokesperson, and Joint Staff Director Marine Lieutenant Kenneth McKenzie laughed off the claim on Saturday. "I can't help you with what the Syrians are saying, but what I am telling you is what actually happened," the general said. White said the lie was the start of a now well-known troll campaign to spread false information. The disinformation campaign has already begun. There has been a 2,000 increase in Russian troll activity in the last 24 hours, she said. This was what remained of the Scientific Research Center, which was obliterated in the airstrikes. The Pentagon said the mission set Syria's chemical weapons attack back several years. An image released by the U.S. Department of Defense on Saturday shows the guided missile cruiser USS Monterey firing a Tomahawk missile towards the research center in Damascus as part of the attack. Putin said on Saturday that the strikes would exacerbate Syria's humanitarian crisis, and that they were detrimental to international relations. There was no Russian interference in the airstrikes, and U.S. officials have put a firm emphasis on the deconfliction process between the Kremlin and Washington, which involves open channels of communication over each country's plan in Syria in order to avoid conflict. Gen. McKenzie emphasized on Saturday that while deconfliction is in place, Russia has no veto over the U.S.'s action in Syria. The Russians don't have a veto on anything that we do. We are not cooperating with them in Syria. We don't want to get into a fight with them and they don't want to get into a fight with us, and the best way to avoid that is to share information, but we are not cooperating with them, he said. The Russian military is supporting the Syrian regime, purportedly in its fight against ISIS. However, it is yet to condemn or even acknowledge Assad's continued use of chemical weapons on the non-IS rebels he is separately fighting against.